Welcome to the West 605 Christmas Special, and our very best wishes to you and yours. We're highlighting some of the best that West 605 has to offer when it comes to celebrating the season. The sights and sounds of the holiday season all come together in a wonderful way here in West 605. Traditions that bring us together, ties that bind us to family and friends, and remind us to count our blessings. Rapid City's Christmas tree lighting ceremony at Main Street Square is just one of those traditions.
Lighting this big tree is symbolic, and it's important to apparently a few thousand people who have come out tonight. And so I think it's just a good, feel-good event. All of us were kids at Christmas once, and we all come here to remember and reminisce and be there for our kids and grandkids, and it's just a nice time.
In a broader sense, why do you think holiday traditions like this make so much of an impact on people? Why are they so important?
Well, I think they provide a somewhat of a stable environment, stable future. They reaffirm our celebrations of these seasons and these events in the past. They give us hope that there are more seasons in the future. And people are social, and they're born to be around each other. And all of these people here tonight have something in common. It doesn't matter who they voted for or what they like to eat for Thanksgiving. They're going to watch this tree light, and they're going to cheer, and they're all together. So they're all friends tonight.
The lights, the food, the gatherings. Christmas can be a time of joy, anticipation, and reflection. But for some people, it can be more of a challenge.
One of the things we've got to consider with Christmas is if we don't want to get caught up in the consumerism of it, the financial engine of it, we got to know why and process why is this a big deal? Why did this start? What's the most important central center of the target part of this Christmas thing? From that, I think you can discover where you can actually live out Christmas and celebrate Christmas the way it was originally intended. And you can, in essence, buck the trend, and you don't have to be one of those consumers. My dad would stop us all. He would open up the Bible, and he would go to Luke chapter 2, and he would read the Christmas story for us, not as punishment. Now, as an 8-year-old, kind of felt punishing, but they were trying to say, what we're going to do is fine and it's okay, but why we're doing this is a big deal. And so we're going to focus on why. And so he would read, and then eventually he would even transition to us where we would start to read that story, and we would have this moment where we were all recognizing, and I think it's short and sweet, doesn't have to be dragged out, but it can be what is your intentionality behind remembering, especially nowadays where you've got kids programs, you've got shopping to do, you've got office parties, you've got all this stuff, and if you're running your own business, there's maybe longer hours. It's not about taking and stretching things out. What about 5 minutes? Maybe read Luke chapter 2. That will tell you the reason for Christmas. Read it and then do your day. And I think it's those brief, simple moments that can begin to build your why of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Why am I being generous at Christmas? Unusually so. Luke chapter 2.
Well, I think when we got married, our experiences growing up were similar but still different. Yeah. But my expectation was that we would just do it the way that I had grown up doing it, and his was the same. So when we had kids, even there's so many ways that you can celebrate Christmas and traditions that you can set and hold. And I think for a lot of people, they get really overwhelmed because there are so many things pulling at you or so many things you feel like you should be doing, especially when we had kids, there were so many things that I went, I'm not doing that. We're not making gingerbread houses. Am I a terrible mom? And I think our heart has been to choose a few things that are really important and really matter. But not just during the Christmas season, all year long, tethering our rhythms as a family and in life to everything that we do, but using Christmas as an opportunity, one, to give attention to Jesus. We want our kids to be knowing him all year long. Be generous. We want our kids to be generous all year long. We want to be generous all year long. So using it as an opportunity to take those rhythms that we already have in our hearts and are already walking out all year long, and just find out ways to do that within this season and the Christmas holiday.
When you relegate a relationship to just one day of the year, if Katie and I only talked about our marriage, only behaved like married people on our anniversary, that's not going to be a strong relationship. And that's the part of Christmas. Christmas is about the relationship God initiated with mankind. When Christmas gets relegated to just Christmas Day, it makes it very difficult. If that's all that is, it's going to be very difficult for someone to know the why of Christmas, because it's bigger than Christmas, it's broader than Christmas. It's about God stepping in and saying, I want you to be included in my family. It's intended to be a relationship with God, not a religion with God, not just this, I do this to behave in certain ways to get him to like me. And so Christmas is one of those great reminders. Anniversaries are great. I don't forget our anniversary, right? Like this, right? They're great, but they're better when the whole year has been about us focusing on each other. It's just better.
When it comes to celebrating Christmas, the Canans believe in keeping it simple, and that applies to their own family.
We want a couple things. One is shopping local. Another is being willing to shop things that have already been enjoyed by someone else at a consignment shop or at a thrift store, but just being open to helping our kids see that you can enjoy things, but also just lean into what's already there and just be aware and mindful of what you're bringing in.
And how did that go over?
Not so bad, actually, but I would tell you that we've been intentional about that even with clothing since the get-go, so I don't know that our kids know a whole lot of difference. But we've adopted this system that, again, I'm sure most everybody has heard of, and if not, now they know. It's like a 4-pronged present, which is what's something that I want. It's not a need, but I'd really like to have it. What's something that I do need, which is usually socks, I think, by the time Christmas rolls around. What's something I would wear, and what's something I would read. And they're just pillars. And we have tacked onto that what's something that I can do, or like an initiative that I'd like to lean into. So Titus, he's our third child. He really has a heart for people that don't have shelter, places to live. So we'll do something with Cornerstone specifically for him, because he is really, in fact, this Saturday we're doing that. So those 4 prongs of, here are your expectations. We love you, but we are not going to use this as an opportunity to just go bananas and fill the house with stuff we don't need. Because again, it's these rhythms of, we want to have a lifestyle like this. We don't want to have these seasons and then the rest of the year kind of go down. We want to help them build mile markers that are consistency in life and in the way that we view things. And so not hoarding everything, but what are 4 things that you would like or need? And they get input in that. Even Bo, our 3-year-old, we make a Christmas list and we process it with them. Because again, I want them to be adults that don't just go into a store and take everything that they need and, oh, well, it's Christmas. Well, but there's deeper meaning to it. So let's be intentional about what we're doing.
What were those 4 things again?
Something I want, something I need, something I'll wear, and something I'll read.
Keeping Christmas simple in West 605. One surefire way to enjoy the Christmas holiday is to take a step back in time and take a ride on the 1880 holiday train.
We run special trains from Hill City up to our North Pole village, where Santa Claus is waiting for the train. And on the ride up there to the North Pole, you get a hot chocolate served to you along with a sugar cookie made by Mrs. Claus. And then we arrive there at the North Pole, village is all set up, and Santa's waving at the train. Yeah, he'll jump on the train, and then for the ride back into town, he'll walk through the entire train and visit with every family and chat with every kid. Our elves on board the train give every kid a little tiny jingle bell.
You got elves too.
Oh yeah, we got the whole works. Mrs. Claus is on the train. Santa, the elves serving that hot chocolate to you. But yeah, every kid gets a jingle bell and gets a personal visit with Santa Claus on the ride back into town. So you get to experience the magic of a train and the magic of Santa Claus.
I was just sitting here thinking, man, I wish I had something like that when I was a kid. That would seem like a paradise for a young child.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. It's always fun to run the 1880 train in the summertime. You know, to see the kids the first time potentially on a train ride. Even more so at Christmas time, you know, they're enjoying that ride, and then when they get that first glimpse of Santa as we pull into the North Pole, it just takes their breath away, and you can feel it in the cars and listen to the kids get all excited.
You're kicking it up a notch with the wow factor.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
How long is the ride to the North Pole?
Yeah, so it lasts about an hour round trip. So this is shorter than our normal summertime ride, but it's 30 minutes up, and then we reach the North Pole real quick, and then Santa Claus jumps on, and about another 30 minutes back in. So 1 hour overall duration.
I'm thinking that's probably a better thing for the kids.
Yeah, it's actually perfect for the kids for that very reason. Yeah, it's just the right amount of time.
Taking a ride on the holiday train and meeting Mr. and Mrs. Claus is one thing, but having an appreciation of the time and effort that goes into keeping this train on track is something completely different.
Yeah, the train cars themselves, they're all from the late, or about 1905 to 1912, somewhere in that time frame. We've restored them over the course of the last 30 years. It takes about 2 years to restore them. They have beautiful woodwork on the inside, nice cushioned seats. They are enclosed, mildly heated. They are 100-year-old train cars, so they're not going to be cozy. We do recommend that you dress in layers.
So yeah, I was just going to say, so dress appropriately.
Yes, yep. But people come and they love it. They come in their jammies, they come in their Christmas blankets.
Wait. They come in their jammies.
Oh yeah, yep. So
Okay.
we encourage all that kind of festive attitude and just bring your fun and enjoy yourself on the train. So, but yeah, the cars are set up. They have bench seats that two to a bench, but if you have a family of 4 or a family of 8 or so, you can actually buy 4 seats on the same side of the train. You can turn it into a booth and face each other. So that's quite popular with the parents and little kids, and so it just makes for a really cozy train ride. Everybody puts themselves under one blanket sometimes and just keeps warm. But yeah, great time. We've decorated them with Christmas lights and other garland and things like that on the train ride itself. So yeah.
You've got to have overheard comments from these families and the people who ride the train. What do you hear most?
Probably that excitement about Santa Claus is probably the biggest one. Obviously, when they see Santa, a lot of parents will tell you this is the first time they've ever ridden a train at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of locals, this is the first time they've ever ridden the 1880 train. So we love to capture their imagination and get them on the train and hopefully get them back in the future. So yeah, that's probably the biggest one. This is my first train ride.
So I'm looking at these. Are these original cars?
They are. So these are from 1905 to 1912, somewhere in that ballpark. They've been restored. It takes us about 2 years to restore each of these train cars. You see the intricate wood detail on the outside, and then you'll see on the inside even richer wood detail. But
well, I'm just noticing the glasswork.
Yep, stained glass and all that. Yep.
Yeah.
All original window fixtures and all that stuff. Obviously the glass is new, but beautiful work, all handcrafted in our shop down the way that we'll go look at eventually. But
where do you find something like this?
so these were originally from the Pacific Northwest out in the Oregon area, and then they eventually made their way up to British Columbia. Somehow they found their way back into South Dakota in the 70s, I believe. And there's at least one more train car that we can restore at some point down in our storage yard. But then from the 70s, they stayed here. They just a little bit at a time. When we could put the money into them, we pulled one into the shop, and then 2 years later came out with a product like this, and use them every day of the summertime as well. So
even the wheel fixtures, is that all original, or is that new?
The frame and everything that you see in there is all original. The wheel sets themselves, we do have to, you know, we wear them out, obviously,
Yeah.
and so we have to send them off for refurbishment or replacement. All these boxes here are a Babbitt bearing, so it's called a friction bearing, and that is all hand cast. Our crew down at the shop hand casts that Babbitt, smooths it in, rounds it all in, and then runs it in, and all that is this old, you know, 200-year-old technology, 150-year-old technology that our crews are keeping alive in the preservation of these train cars. So it's great stuff.
This man knows what he's talking about because he actually works on these trains.
Well, I worked on them back in the 20 years ago. I had the opportunity to work in the shop and loved it. Best job I ever had. Now I'm definitely more on the marketing and the office side of the house. I don't get to play with the trains as much as I'd love to, but those that know me know that this is a perfect job for me because I've always been a train fan and always loved working on stuff like this.
Well, let's go inside and take a look at what we're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the interior of the cars and kind of what they'll look like when they're configured for Holiday Express rides. You can make any of the booths or any 2 benches into a booth and face your family as you ride on the holiday train. And great experience.
So we've got leather seats.
That's right.
Brass. Is this the original brass?
All original. Yep.
Wow. Amazing.
All again restored and polished and cleaned up by our crew. And these take a lot of maintenance. Every year they'll go into the shop for about a week before our summer season, and they'll get overhauled and all the fittings and fixtures all polished up and fixed and windows adjusted, all that stuff.
The woodwork here is amazing. It's beautiful, and even the glass, glass work.
Yep, so all restored when we did these cars. Again, 2 years worth of restoration on it to bring them back to their period authenticity. So, for every 4:15 departure, so every nighttime departure, it's usually our last train of the day. That's when we convert this one into spiked, and so this will be the party atmosphere in here. And we'll go a little bit further back, and I can show you the first class cars, which are decorated up nice as well. So, all right,
I'll just follow you then.
Okay.
So this is your first class car.
Yep, so this car only holds 40 people, smaller car, and much more intimate setting, and it's the one we're going to use for first class. So,
after you once again.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
So here's the inside of our Helio train car, our first class, one of our 2 first class cars, but only holds about 40 people, and again, it can be configured into this booth setup, and you get to enjoy your unlimited hot chocolate in one of our commemorative mugs. You get all the whipped cream, sprinkles, marshmallows, anything your heart desires.
And again, I'm just amazed at the level of the detail in the restoration. All the work, you can tell this is original just because of the dings in it.
That's right, that's right.
It's just gorgeous.
So we're very proud of this car. This was an old Chicago and Northwestern car, and it was called a drover's coach. So it wasn't really configured like this with the passenger seats. So when the cattlemen would round up their cows and put them on the stock car trains, they would hitch this car in to the consist, and the cowboys would ride to Chicago or wherever the market was for their cows in this type of a car. So I'm not quite sure what the original configuration was, but I do know there was bunks in here, and then probably just simple wooden benches to sit in on your 3, 4, 5 day ride to market with your cows. So this was built in 1956. It's called a GP9. It would have been a standard mainline locomotive in the early days of diesels. And we purchased it maybe about 15 years ago or so. It serves as our summertime backup locomotive, but is perfect for our Holiday Express. Obviously you can see it's been decorated up with Christmas lights and a wreath and whatnot, but the color scheme we like. It's kind of our corporate colors, and looks good out in front of a wintertime train.
For more information about the 1880 Holiday Train, go to their website, 1880train.com. So, what's Christmas without some music? That's coming up next on West 605. Back in 1983, a mother and her 3 children started a gospel singing group and going around to congregations in the Black Hills region. That soon evolved into singing engagements all over the country, and the Potter family was off and running. And one day, they came up with the idea of doing a dinner show, a step that would take the group to a whole new level.
I started in high school and met my first husband, who was also a musician and had a band. So I started singing with his band. Wow. And it just kind of escalated from there. Orion was 9 years old and the girls were 11 and 12. And we started singing and just got on the phone and booked us, and we went from coast to coast basically for about 8 years.
We started off in the Creamery Mall at a little diner called the Beanery, which was in the basement of the Creamery Mall. Okay. And my mom had an idea to go in there and start a dinner show. So they weren't serving dinner at the time, but it was basically a new concept that we came together with the owners and decided we would do a dinner and a show. And then we started there, and then we started getting more requests to come into other places.
We started doing some Christmas shows. I worked at a radio station in the Black Hills for about close to 30 years, and we did an annual Christmas show in Sturgis, and the radio station sponsored it the first couple of years, and then Stacy joined us during that time frame, and that's kind of where it all started.
We've been super grateful for our following, the people that have followed us. I mean, Stacy and Orion are doing it more full time, but man, this community has really supported us, really supported us over there. We're almost like brought to tears every time we have a crowd in the house. Yeah. We're like, wow, I can't believe they're still coming to see us sing. You know, it's a blessing.
Yeah. I'd have to say that, you know, we do this for God. It's like a calling that God's placed on all of our lives. We all kind of agree on that. But next to that, it is the people that keeps us going and keeps us doing this.
You know, of course, when we sing, a lot of times there's people there and stuff like that, and I'm so grateful, like they were saying, for that opportunity to sing to people, and we hear comments about how they're touched by
songs,
and it's just a blessing. It's humbling. It really is humbling to be able to be a part of that. But I always tell Stacey, I was like, I don't sing for people, I sing for myself, you know, because I get so much out of it.
If we don't sing for a while, I can tell.
Yeah.
And then when we do get together again and sing together, it's just an uplifting, and it's in our you can just feel it's like therapy. It's the best
part
way
of our DNA.
It's a part of our DNA, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas from the Potter family. Merry Christmas to all of you, and may you and yours have a blessed new year here in West 605.